I was 13 when this happened, and I still can't hear the sound of a chain-link fence rattling without my stomach turning. Back then, my family lived in a quiet neighborhood outside of St. Louis. It was one of those places that adults described as safe, the way people say a prayer before bedtime, like just repeating it enough times could make it true. The streets were wide, the lawns were trimmed, and the only real excitement came from kids riding bikes too fast around the cul-de-sac, or somebody's dog getting loose. Behind our house there was a long drainage field, then a narrow strip of trees, and past that, an old service road that ran behind the neighborhood. Most people never used it. It wasn't exactly abandoned, but it wasn't active either. Once in a while, a utility truck would crawl down there during the day, but otherwise it just sat behind the tree line, forgotten. The backyards on our block were separated by chain-link fences, but only halfway. After a certain point, they opened into those loose patches of grass and trees that made property lines feel made up. My dad liked that. He always said it made the neighborhood feel open. My mom hated it for the same reason. I had one older sister, Rachel, who was 16 at the time. She was the kind of person who acted like she was already 25 and too mature for everything, which mostly meant she spent a lot of time rolling her eyes at me. My parents both worked weird schedules that summer, so there were nights when Rachel was technically in charge, even though she resented every second of it. The summer this happened was hot, in that miserable, sticky way that makes everything smell like cut grass and wet wood after dark. School had just let out, and all the kids on our street were outside almost every day until late evening. We played basketball in driveways, flashlight tag when it got dark, and sometimes this game where we'd dare each other to run into the tree line behind the houses and touch the old fence post near the service road. Nobody liked going too deep in there. Not because it was huge, it wasn't. But the trees were dense enough that once the sun started going down, it got dark fast. You could stand 10 feet inside and already feel like the neighborhood had disappeared behind you. The first weird thing happened on a Thursday. I remember because my dad had worked late. My mom was at the hospital covering an overnight shift, and Rachel had two of her friends over, sitting on the patio, acting like my existence was a personal inconvenience. I was kicking a soccer ball around the backyard with my friend Noah from next door when the ball rolled toward the tree line. Noah told me to get it. I told him he kicked it, so he should get it. He said, "You're closer." I remember walking over there annoyed, pushing through the taller grass near the fence, already rehearsing the insult I was going to throw at him when I came back with the ball. Then I saw it. At first, I thought it was just trash caught in the weeds, but it wasn't. It was a little stack of things placed neatly at the base of one of the trees just beyond the fence. A red plastic whistle, one of those cheap glowing bracelets from a carnival, and a baseball card in a soft plastic sleeve. I stopped walking. The weird thing wasn't that those objects were there. Kids lose junk outside all the time. The weird thing was how carefully they were arranged. The whistle on top, the bracelet in a small circle, the baseball card leaning against the tree as if somebody had propped it there on purpose. Noah came up behind me and said, "What is that?" I shrugged and climbed through the loose part of the fence where some of the ties had broken. I picked up the baseball card first. It was a Mark McGuire card. I liked baseball back then, and it was old enough to look kind of cool. But the card wasn't what made me drop all three things almost immediately. My name was written across the top of the plastic sleeve in black marker. Tyler. I still remember how cold my hands felt, even though it was probably 90 degrees out. Noah saw it too. He said, "That's not funny." I didn't answer because my brain was still trying to catch up. I was trying to decide whether Rachel had done it as a joke, but that didn't make sense. She didn't know anything about baseball cards, and she definitely wouldn't crawl into the weeds to leave one for me. Noah bent to pick up the whistle and flipped it over. My name was scratched into the back with something sharp. Then he dropped that too. We both stood there, staring. Behind us, Rachel called from the patio, "Are you guys seriously scared of garbage?" I wanted to yell back at her, but suddenly I didn't want to sound stupid. I didn't want to hear her laugh. So I just grabbed the soccer ball and told Noah to leave the stuff there. That night, I didn't tell my dad. I almost did. I really did. But by the time he got home, I had already started doing what people always do with creepy things. I had begun explaining it away. Maybe somebody from school was messing with me. Maybe Noah had put it there first and was acting surprised. Maybe the card didn't really say my name and I imagined it in the wrong light. Except the next morning, when I checked from my bedroom window, the things were gone. All three of them. And that should have made me feel better. Instead, it made it worse. Because it meant someone had either come back for them, or someone had been close enough to notice us finding them. Over the next week, small things started happening. Nothing dramatic, nothing you could point to and say with confidence, "See, this is bad." That was part of what made it so effective. One evening, my bike, which I always left on its kickstand beside the garage, was lying on the grass with the front wheel slowly spinning. I thought maybe it tipped over, but it was too far from where I had left it. Another afternoon, I came home from Noah's house and found our side gate open. Not wide open, just slightly. Barely enough to notice. My dad was obsessed with keeping it latched because our dog Lucy would push her way through if it wasn't. Then there were the noises. At first, it was just the fence behind our house rattling once or twice at night. I'd hear it while trying to fall asleep and tell myself it was wind, but the air would be dead still. A few nights later, I woke up to Lucy growling low in her throat from the laundry room downstairs. She only made that sound when somebody was at the front door or walking too close to the yard. By the time I got brave enough to look through the upstairs hallway window, nothing was there. I told Rachel about that one. She said, "Maybe Lucy heard a raccoon." I said, "Raccoons don't make the fence shake." Rachel rolled her eyes and said, "Everything makes the fence shake." That weekend, Noah and I were in his driveway shooting baskets when he asked, completely out of nowhere, "Did you tell anybody about that card?" I said no. He bounced the ball once, then said, "Good." I asked why. He shrugged and said he just didn't want his parents freaking out and banning him from coming over to my yard. That was a reasonable answer, but he said it in a weird tone, like there was something else behind it. I asked him if he had told anyone. He said no too. Then he missed an easy shot and the conversation died. But after that, I started noticing he was looking toward my backyard more often. Not openly, just quick glances, like he expected to see something move. The second big thing happened at night. My parents had gone out to dinner for their anniversary, and Rachel was supposed to be watching me, which mostly meant she was upstairs on FaceTime with some guy, while I played video games in the den. Around 10:30, Lucy started scratching at the back door. I thought she needed to go out, so I got up to let her into the yard. The second I opened the door, she stopped. Didn't move. Just stood there, staring into the darkness beyond the patio. "Go on," I said. She backed up. Not dramatic, just one slow step backward, tail stiff, ears up. That scared me more than if she had barked. Lucy was a mutt with the confidence of a much larger dog. She chased possums out of the bushes and once bit a FedEx guy's shoe through the screen door. If she didn't want to go outside, something was wrong. I slid the door shut and locked it again. Then I turned on the backyard floodlight. At first, I didn't see anything, just the patio furniture, the grill cover moving a little, the edge of the lawn, and farther back, the black wall of trees. Then my eyes adjusted. The swing on the old metal swing set near the far side of the yard was moving, slowly, back and forth. The seat was empty. I stood there long enough for the fear to change shape. It started as a cold rush, then turned into that desperate need to prove something isn't real, to make it normal. I told myself one of the neighborhood kids probably messed with it earlier. I told myself it could have been wind after all. Then something white flashed between two trees beyond the fence. Not a whole person, just part of a face. I jumped back so hard I hit the counter behind me. Lucy barked once, sharp and violent. Rachel came running downstairs, furious, demanding to know what my problem was, and by the time I could point to the yard, whatever I'd seen was gone. She looked outside, looked at me, and said, "Tyler, I swear if you're doing this because you're bored, I saw somebody." "No, you didn't. The swing was moving." So somebody was there." Rachel stared out for another few seconds. Her expression changed a little. Not much, just enough that I could tell even she felt something was off now. But then our parents got home, and she immediately went back to acting normal, maybe because she didn't want to admit I might have been right. I told my dad what I saw. He took a flashlight and walked the yard while I watched from the kitchen. He checked the fence, the gate, the tree line. He even climbed through the loose section and shined the light around beyond it. He found nothing. When he came back in, he said it was probably a deer or one of the neighborhood teenagers cutting through the service road. But he locked all the downstairs windows before bed. That next Monday, I found something under my pillow. I know how that sounds. If somebody hears that sentence in a scary story, they immediately picture something impossible, like a ghost or a monster. But this was worse, because it was real. It was small and ordinary, and absolutely should not have been there. It was the red whistle. The same whistle from under the tree. My name still scratched into the back. I just sat there on my bed staring at it. I hadn't brought it into the house. I knew that. Noah hadn't come over in days. Rachel would never touch some gross thing from the woods. I took it straight to my dad. This time, he believed me. Or at least, he believed enough to get scared. He asked Rachel if she had put it there. She said no. He asked if any of my friends had been in my room. Also no. He checked the windows, the locks, the basement, the garage. Then he called my mom, who came home early. They didn't call the police. That used to make me angry when I thought back on it. But now I understand why they hesitated.
What exactly were they supposed to say? Someone placed a whistle in our son's room? The police would ask if there was any sign of forced entry, and there wasn't. They'd ask if a family member could have moved it as a prank, and that seemed more likely than a stranger entering a house just to leave an object behind. So my parents did what frightened adults often do when they're not ready to say the worst thing out loud. They tried to control the parts they could. My dad repaired the loose section of fence the same evening. He added motion lights over the backyard. He put a wooden dowel in the track of the sliding door. He told Rachel not to have anybody over without asking. He told me not to go near the trees alone anymore. For about 5 days, nothing happened. Then school summer camp started. It was this day program at the middle school where kids went for sports and field trips and whatever else kept us busy while parents worked. Noah and I both signed up for the same week because it beat staying home all day. On the third day, we were outside behind the gym playing Capture the Flag when one of the camp counselors blew his whistle and told everybody to come in early because of heat. As we were lining up, Noah grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. He said, "Don't turn around." I immediately turned around. Standing beyond the chain-link fence that separated the school field from the parking lot was a man in a tan baseball cap. He wasn't doing anything dramatic. He was just standing there with one hand hooked through the fence, looking directly at me. He was too far away for me to make out much detail, but I could tell he was older. Not old, but grown. 30s maybe, 40s. Ordinary looking enough that if he'd been in a grocery store, I probably wouldn't have remembered him. What made my mouth go dry was the look on his face. He was smiling, but not wide, not cartoonishly. Just enough to say, "I know you know this is for you."
I think he knew Noah was with me too, because his eyes flicked to Noah for a second, then back to me. A counselor yelled at the man to move away from the fence. He took 2 steps back, still smiling, then turned and walked calmly behind a row of parked cars until I couldn't see him anymore. The counselors asked if either of us knew him. Noah said no immediately. I hesitated. I should have said something then. I know I should have. But the truth is, I still wasn't sure what I was dealing with. I was 13. Part of me believed that saying everything out loud would make it more real. Another part was ashamed. Ashamed that I was scared of things that sounded stupid when listed out. A whistle, a moving swing, a face in the dark. So I shook my head too. That afternoon, Noah came over and told me he needed to say something. We sat in the garage with the door open just enough to see the driveway. He said he thought maybe he knew who the man was. I asked what he meant. He looked guilty before he even started talking, which immediately made me angry. A month earlier, before the baseball card and before the whistle, Noah and 2 other kids had been messing around near the service road behind the neighborhood. They found an old storage shed farther down by a drainage ditch. The place looked abandoned, and one of the older boys dared everyone to go peek inside. They did. Inside, they found what Noah described as weird stuff. Newspapers on the floor, empty water bottles, a lawn chair, some blankets, a radio, and on one wall, a bunch of things hanging from nails. He didn't want to tell me what things. I made him. He said there were pictures of kids from the neighborhood, some printed from social media. Some looked zoomed in from far away. A couple were clearly taken from behind fences or bushes. One of them was me. I remember the garage suddenly feeling hot and airless. I asked why the hell he never told anyone. He said because one of the older boys, Derek, stole a pocket knife from the shed, and they were all afraid of getting in trouble for trespassing. I was so furious, I actually shoved him. He shoved me back and said he was sorry over and over, but that didn't change what he had just told me. I demanded to know where the shed was. He refused at first, said his parents would kill him, said mine would tell his, said maybe the guy was gone by now anyway. I told him if he didn't show my dad right now, I would. That was what finally broke him. My dad called Noah's parents, and within an hour, the whole thing exploded. The 2 older boys got dragged into it. Parents started yelling. Somebody finally called the police. Noah and his dad led 2 officers and my dad down the service road to where the shed was supposed to be. It was empty. Not abandoned empty, cleared out empty. The blankets were gone. The chair was gone. The pictures were gone. Even the newspapers were gone. But the officers found enough to know somebody had been staying there recently. Food wrappers tucked in a corner, a cigarette burn on the floorboards, a single plastic zip tie, marks on one wall where tape or nails had clearly been removed, and on the dirt outside there were fresh tire tracks. That night, the police asked me questions in the living room while my mom held a mug of tea she never drank. Did I know anyone who might be targeting me? No. Did anybody from school have a reason to frighten me? No. Had I ever seen the person clearly? Not really. Did I still have the whistle? Yes. They took it. I asked if they thought the man at camp and the stuff in the woods were connected. One of the officers said, "We're looking at everything." Even at 13, I could tell that meant nothing. For the next 2 weeks, my life changed completely. My parents didn't let me out of their sight unless they absolutely had to. My mom rearranged shifts. My dad started parking his truck so it blocked part of the driveway view from the street. Rachel complained constantly until one night she caught my mom crying in the kitchen, and then, after that, she stopped complaining. My dad also met with a few other neighbors, and I realized from bits of overheard conversations that I wasn't the only kid who had appeared in those photographs from the shed. That should have comforted me. It didn't. It made the whole thing bigger, more deliberate. One Saturday afternoon, a police detective came by and asked to walk the perimeter of our yard with my dad. I followed at a distance, even though I was told not to. They checked the fence line, the trees, and the stretch behind the houses leading toward the service road. Near the back corner of our property, the detective crouched and called for my dad. They had found a gap in the brush I'd never noticed before. Not a path exactly, but repeated enough to show somebody had been moving through there. The grass was bent down. A few branches were snapped. On the other side of the brush, partially buried in mud, was a child-sized sneaker print. Not recent, probably old, but still enough to make my dad look sick. The detective asked if we'd ever found anything else missing besides the whistle and the card. I almost said no. Then I remembered something small, stupid, and easy to ignore. A month before all of this started, I had lost a blue hoodie after basketball practice. I thought I left it in the locker room. My mom even called the school office about it. The detective asked what it looked like. I told him navy blue, zipper down the front, my initials written inside the collar. He wrote it down carefully. That night, I dreamed about the shed. I had never actually seen it, but in the dream, I knew exactly what it looked like. I dreamed that all the walls were covered in photos, except the faces in them were scratched out, and hanging from one nail was my blue hoodie. I woke up sweating. 2 days later, the detective came back. They had found my hoodie, not in the shed, in a trash bag dumped behind a gas station dumpster nearly 8 miles away. My initials were inside the collar, exactly where I said they'd be. There were also 2 other items in the same bag linked to other kids in nearby neighborhoods. A pink sandal, a Little League cap. No blood, no obvious signs of violence. Just trophies. That was the word I heard the detective use quietly to my parents in the hallway. He thought I was asleep upstairs, but I was halfway down the staircase, listening. Trophies. That word changed everything for me. Before that, I had still imagined this as maybe one man being weird, one man being scary, one man hanging around where he shouldn't. But trophies meant something else. It meant purpose. Around that time, the police finally found out who owned the storage shed. An older man who hadn't used that property in years. He had no idea anybody had been staying in it. It wasn't locked because he figured there was nothing worth stealing. The service road cameras from a nearby utility entrance also picked up something useful. An older Mercury sedan coming and going late at night on multiple occasions over the past several weeks. The plate couldn't be read clearly, but the vehicle was distinct enough to put out a bulletin. For the first time, the adults around me seemed to believe they were dealing with something truly dangerous. And then, just when everything was at its most tense, it went quiet. No fence rattling, no moving swing, no faces near school. Nothing. Police still checked in. Parents still kept their kids close. But time started doing what it always does.
It softened the sharpest edges. People got tired. Summer kept moving. My parents loosened up just a little by late July. Not much, just enough for me to ride my bike to Noah's house again. Enough for Rachel to go to the movies with friends without my dad calling every 20 minutes. Enough that one evening my mom actually laughed at dinner. Then the county fair came to town. It was about 15 minutes away at the fairgrounds, and for kids our age, it was the biggest thing all summer. Rides, fried food, animal barns, games rigged against you. Noah and I begged to go. My dad didn't want to. My mom said we couldn't live like prisoners forever. Eventually they compromised. Rachel would take me, along with her friend Melissa and Melissa's boyfriend. My dad gave Rachel a lecture that could have qualified as military training. Stay together, keep your phone on, do not let Tyler out of your sight. Rachel promised, already annoyed. The fair was crowded in that way that makes you feel both safer and more vulnerable at the same time. There were thousands of people, kids and adults and workers, and flashing lights everywhere. For the first hour, I actually forgot about everything. I ate terrible food, won nothing, and let myself believe that maybe things really were over. Then I saw the whistle. It was hanging from the prize wall at one of those dart game booths. Red plastic, cheap, exactly like the one from under the tree. That alone meant nothing. They probably sold those in bags of 100. What made the blood leave my face was the black scratching on the back. From where I stood, I could see letters, not all of them, but enough. I pushed through the people near the booth and asked the bored teenager running it if I could see the whistle hanging on the end hook. He looked confused and said, "You want to win it?" I said no, I just needed to see it. He refused. I stared long enough that Rachel came over asking what I was doing. I pointed. She squinted and said, "Tyler, are you serious?" Then someone behind us said, very softly, "He remembers." I turned so fast I nearly fell. The man in the tan cap was standing 3 feet away. Same ordinary face, same small smile. Up close, he looked even worse somehow, because there was nothing outwardly monstrous about him. He looked like someone's uncle, someone you'd pass in a hardware store. Rachel saw him too, because her expression changed instantly. The man looked only at me. Then he said, "You shouldn't have gone into my shed." I don't remember making a sound, but Rachel screamed. The crowd reacted slowly, like people in real life always do when something terrifying happens in public. There was confusion first, then shouting. The man turned and moved fast through the bodies around us. Rachel grabbed me and started dragging me toward the nearest deputy by the livestock barn. I kept twisting around, expecting to see the man still there, but he was gone in seconds. Police locked down part of the fairgrounds for almost half an hour. Witnesses gave conflicting descriptions. Tan cap, no cap, beard, no beard, blue shirt, gray shirt. That's the problem with normal-looking predators. They disappear into people's bad memory. But Rachel had seen him clearly. So had I. And now the police knew he was bold enough to come close, talk, and vanish in a crowd. After the fair, my parents didn't loosen up again. If anything, they got worse. By August, they had decided we were moving. Not maybe, not thinking about it, actually moving. My dad told everyone it was because of work opportunities and a better school district, but nobody on our street believed that. By then, too many parents had heard enough to piece together the truth. The plan was to move before school started. That should have been the end. It almost was. 3 nights before the moving truck came, my dad worked late and my mom took Rachel to look at curtains for the new house. I was supposed to stay with Noah's family until they got back, but I forgot my inhaler in my bedroom. Noah came with me to get it because we were only going to be there for 2 minutes. The house felt weird the second we walked in. Not loud weird, quiet weird. The kind of silence that feels occupied. I told myself I was being paranoid. Boxes were stacked everywhere. The downstairs looked half empty already, which probably just made it feel unfamiliar. Noah waited in the hallway while I ran upstairs. The moment I entered my room, I knew something was wrong. My closet door was open. I always kept it closed because the hinge squeaked, and I hated hearing it at night. I froze. There was a smell in the room, too. Not strong, just wrong. Sweat and wet fabric and something stale. From downstairs, Noah called, "You good?" I whispered, "Shut up." And then I heard it. Breathing. Inside the closet. Not loud, not dramatic, just a steady inhale through someone's nose. Every part of me went cold. I backed toward the hallway so slowly I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. I didn't take my eyes off the crack of darkness inside the closet. Then, very gently, the closet door moved wider from the inside. I ran. Not brave, not thoughtful, just pure animal panic. I slammed into Noah so hard we both nearly fell down the stairs. He started yelling at me, then saw my face and stopped. I screamed that someone was upstairs. We got out the front door in maybe 2 seconds and sprinted across the lawn to Noah's house. His dad called 911 while we stood there shaking and trying to explain between gasps. Police arrived fast. They searched the house top to bottom. At first, they found nothing. Then one officer noticed that the upstairs bathroom window had been pried open from the outside screen. The screen had been set back in place carefully enough that you wouldn't notice unless you were looking. There were also damp footprints on the tile near the bathroom and one partial shoe print on the carpet outside my room. The closet itself contained nothing obvious, until they looked on the top shelf. There, tucked behind an old board game box, was a folded piece of paper. Inside was a photo of me at the county fair, taken from behind.
I was standing at the dart booth looking up at the prize wall. At the bottom, in small, neat handwriting, were 4 words. "Almost took you there." That was the closest he ever got. Police believed he entered the house while it was empty, maybe assuming it would stay empty longer. Maybe he planned to wait for someone. Maybe for me. Maybe for anybody. They never caught him while we lived there. Months later, after we moved, they arrested a man in another county driving an older Mercury sedan with stolen plates. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about that part because some of it was tied to an ongoing investigation at the time, and my parents kept details from me. What I do know is that items belonging to several kids from different neighborhoods were found in a storage unit rented under a false name. My blue hoodie was not the only trophy. And the man in the tan cap was not as random as we wanted to believe. He had watched multiple neighborhoods for months at a time. He learned routines. He learned shortcuts between fences. He learned which backyards opened into woods and which kids were left outside the longest. I'm 30 now. I have a son. He's 6. Last month, he asked if I could help him build a little campout fort in the backyard, just for fun, just to sleep under blankets with a flashlight and pretend we were outdoors. I smiled and told him maybe when he was older. Then I went back inside and checked the lock on the back door, twice. And before bed, without even realizing I was doing it, I looked out through the dark glass above the sink toward the fence line. Even now, part of me still expects to see a swing moving on its own, or a man standing beyond the trees, smiling like we share a secret.